In the 90s, this city was famous for one thing: knockoffs. Smartphones, headphones, computers, they counterfeit everything. And then something happened that nobody predicted or expected. The counterfeiters accidentally invented something we all know now: the dual SIM phone. The knockoff factories became the world's fastest prototyping shops, and the pirate capital became the place where DJI, Huawei, and BYD were born.
I'm Michael. I've been doing M&A and business with and in China for almost a decade now. And this is Thomas. He's also German. He's lived here in China for 13 years, and now we're sitting in our beautiful studio here right in Shenzhen. And this is the China sourcing map. Let us show you how Shenzhen pulled that off. In 1980, Shenzhen had about 30,000 people, fishermen mostly. And across the bay, Hong Kong was one of the richest cities in Asia. But Shenzhen was only a village. Then, China's leader at that time, Deng Xiaoping, made a bet. He designated Shenzhen as the country's first special economic zone. You can think of it as a testing ground. It has lower taxes, fewer restrictions, and an open door to foreign money. And if it worked here, it could work across China.
And we have to say, it worked. When you cross the street, you see that it definitely worked. Factories poured in, and by 1988, the year I was born, two very major things happened. Number one, Foxconn, the company that would go on to assemble your iPhone, opened its first plant in a town called Longhua, which is actually not far away from the studio we're sitting right now. And then a local entrepreneur opened the first electronics market. It was modeled on Tokyo's Akihabara district. That market became what we now know as SEG Plaza. We will come back to that building later.
Yeah, by the 90s, Shenzhen had found its identity. It was electronics, but not the way you think. The city became the Shanzhai capital of the world.
Shanzhai, a beautiful Chinese word. So what does it mean? It literally means mountain fortress. But it became the Chinese word for counterfeit. And in the 90s, that was Shenzhen. Knockoff phones we talked about by the millions. You could walk into a market, and this is crazy, you buy pirated schematics for a brand name phone and have your own version assembled in just a couple of hours by the afternoon.
Yeah, this is so crazy. And here's even what nobody really saw coming. Those Shanzhai factories weren't just copying, they were learning, in fact. Like this dual SIM phone, it wasn't invented by Samsung or Nokia. It came from street-level engineers here in Shenzhen who needed phones that worked on multiple networks. They solved the problem because no one told them they couldn't.
And I suppose we are big fans of this kind of street smartness. And the skills those factories built at that time, for example, rapid circuit design, the component sourcing, the small batch assembly, they didn't disappear after the Shenzhen knockoff era ended. Instead, they evolved. So the same workshops that at that time made the fake phones, they are now contract manufacturers for hardware startups all over the world, from Berlin to San Francisco.
So we get this question a lot of times. Why can't anyone else replicate what Shenzhen has? Other cities also have cheap labors, right? And other cities also have factories. But what Shenzhen has, and what we get told by all these founders we interviewed, it has density. Within a 2-hour drive of where we are sitting right now, you can source basically 90% of all the electronic components and 80% of mechanical and mold materials. And the center of this whole supply chain is called Huaqiangbei. So yeah, it started with one building. You have this SEG Plaza. It opened in 1988. It has 10 floors, 3,000 shops, and all are selling electronic components. Resistors, capacitors, chips, PCBs. If it goes inside a device, it's definitely in this building. Over 50 people who opened counters in these SEG Plaza earliest days are now billionaires. Some started with stalls, barely 1 meter wide.
That's crazy stories we heard from there. And that's only one building in the whole of Shenzhen. There are 40 more. For example, Tongtiandi, China's largest hub for second-hand iPhones. 4 floors. It has used phones on 3, components on the other. Screens, motherboards, batteries, all stripped, sorted and resold. When someone in Southeast Asia buys refurbished iPhones, there's a very, very high chance it passed through this building.
Yeah, this is so crazy. Yuanwang for mobile phones, 30 billion RMB a year in transactions. Duhui for connectors and switches, organized by component type, floor by floor. Like 750,000 people walk through Huaqiangbei every single day, and 7,000 of them flew in from another country. And that number has doubled year on year.
Crazy number, 750,000 a day. So what we did, we've mapped every building, every floor, every specialty. It's all in our China sourcing map. If you want to get it, the link is in the description. You can download it for free. And Huaqiangbei is just the shopfront. Behind it are 300,000 factories spread across the whole city and the wider Pearl River Delta.
Yeah, you can drive literally 30 minutes northwest from Huaqiangbei and you hit Longhua district. This is where Foxconn built the largest factory complex in the world. 3 square kilometers, 15 factories, and at its peak, they had 450,000 workers. It's literally a small city inside a city. And when Apple releases a new iPhone, this is where the assembly lines run around the clock.
And then if you drive east, you will come to where we are right now, the Longgang district. It's Huawei's home, which is just in the neighborhood, and their campus in Bantian is legendary. I took people there and everyone is just saying, wow. And then take Penggang. It's a neighborhood here in Longgang. It's China's eyewear capital. 500 manufacturers producing over 400 million pairs of glasses every year. So if you are wearing glasses right now, the frames you're wearing, it's a real chance that they started here.
This is crazy. And then there's the rest. Bao'an for mass manufacturing, over 50,000 enterprises. Pingshan for BYD and electric vehicles. Nanshan for DJI, whose drones own 70% of the global market. We talked about it in a different series. Shuibei and Luohu for jewelry. 60% of China's entire gold trade passes through one district. Nanyou for designer fashion, even a musical instrument mall, and that's the largest in China. Every district, every specialty, every address, it's mapped in our China sourcing map.
Here's one tip that will save you a lot of time. If a supplier gives you an address in Futian or Luohu, the central business districts, they are probably a trading company, so be aware. If the address is in Bao'an, Longhua or Longgang, that's where the factories actually are. So be sure to check the address because it will tell you more than the sales pitch. I spent most of my time in China based in Shanghai. That's where I built my audience. That's where I felt and still feel at home. Last year, I started splitting my time between Shanghai and Shenzhen. And why did we put our studio here? Because the energy here is different. I mean, I've been living in China for 10 years, but if you come here, it's unbelievable. So Shanghai is finance, fashion, services, but Shenzhen is actually making things. If you go to a coffee, you can see investors, you can see builders and people designing things, and then they just go down the street and then they can produce the stuff they just designed.
And then 60% of Shenzhen University graduates born after 1990s, they actually want to start a business. And it's 4 times higher than in Beijing.
Yeah, and I talked to a German entrepreneur last time, and he told me something. He has been here for a lot of years, and he said Shenzhen has more startups registered per hour than anywhere else in the world. I don't know if this is true or not, but it actually makes sense that I believe it. This energy is why I decided to spend more time here. And honestly, this is also the reason why we started this series. If you want to make things, you have to come to the city.
Yeah, this is actually also why we started covering hardware founders on our podcast, right? I mean, we've talked to people who gave up PhDs to build like AI pads, who borrowed like 2 million RMB as a student to start a company, who screamed at factory managers until their products shipped right. And you don't get those stories anywhere else.
Only in Shenzhen.
Now, let us also talk and tell you why Shenzhen is dangerous. I mean, the Shanzhai area, I don't think it's entirely over.
No, it definitely is not. Huaqiangbei has a ghost market a lot of people don't know about. It runs from midnight to 4 in the morning when honest people are asleep, and you can get counterfeit AirPods for $10. You can get replica smartwatches for $30. And the vendors, they only accept one thing: cash and small bills. They don't want you to take photos or make videos, and it's actually crazy. The replicas achieve 80 to 90% similarity to the real thing. So they are built from recycled components stripped from broken phones.
Yeah, this is unbelievable. Like, there's Andrew Bunny Huang, one of the world's most respected hardware hackers. He visited Shenzhen with the director of the MIT Media Lab. And when they walked into one of the component markets, I read that Bunny leaned over to this guy and he said, "I think everything here is fake."
Yeah, because it is. So you have to actually be aware. And these counterfeits aren't even the biggest risk. So the real danger from our experience is what happens after you place an order. So there's something very smart how they treat you. It's called the golden sample trap. So your supplier, they will send you a beautiful prototype. You will love it. It's a perfect finish, a perfect function. You approve the production. You said, "I want this." Then the 10,000 units arrive at your factory or your home or your office, and they look nothing like the example, because that sample was the best piece out of a batch that was 90% defective.
Yeah, we talked to one of the quality experts during some of the trips that we organized, and one of them described watching a buyer test Bluetooth keyboards in the shop. They worked perfectly. And the moment the buyer left, the keyboards disconnected after only like 3 seconds or so, and the demo units were different from the stock. And also, there was, I believe, one industry survey found that 18% of importers lost an average of $45,000 to supplier fraud. A UK importer paid $82,000 to what turned out to be a 2-room office with no factory at all.
But we, the German guys, are here to protect you. So how can you actually protect yourself? We have 3 things to tell you. Number 1, verify. So China has a business registry, gov.cn. So we will show it to you here. It is free and it's public, so you can search your supplier there. Check if their scope says manufacturing or just trading, and also check if their address matches the factory they claim to have.
Yeah, and on top of that, what you should also do is schedule a video call. Ask to see the production floor live, because a real factory shows you machines and a trading company usually only show you like meeting rooms.
And last but not least, I'm not sure why we have to say this, but it actually happens. Never ever pay to a personal bank account, because then you can say goodbye to your money forever.
Yeah, and it definitely matters how you pay. So WorldFirst sits inside a network of over 150,000 Chinese suppliers and 1.5 million businesses worldwide. When both sides are on the same network, payments are free and instant. There's no intermediary bank fees, no 3-day holds whatsoever.
So we talk to a lot of people, and what most people don't realize is Chinese suppliers, they also have their own headaches with international payments. You know, everyone wants to make money, but there are so many restrictions and problems. For example, export licenses. Then you have the foreign exchange settlement. You have the banking compliance. And WorldFirst handles both sides. So that's why more and more Shenzhen suppliers tell their buyers, just use WorldFirst. Shenzhen has risks, we talked about, that every sourcing city does. But the reason people keep coming back to Shenzhen is speed.
Yeah, and this is crazy. Like, you go on the street and you literally feel like everything's going super fast. A week of work in Shenzhen equals like a month or so in Silicon Valley. And that's not only a slogan, it's what all these hardware founders here keep telling us whenever we talk to them or have them like during a beer. For example, a PCB prototype costs $2. Minimum order, 1 piece. And it's like one single board. Over 2,000 PCB assembly companies operate in the city. They offer also 24-hour turnaround for simple boards.
We talked to an Austrian startup, and they told us that they got functional prototypes in 3 days. If you would do it in Europe, it would take like 4 to 6 weeks. And another founder we talked to, they described that sourcing every component he needed, like motherboards, batteries, screens, cameras, connectors, 3D printing, CNC machining, all from one market district in one single trip. Only possible in Shenzhen. So the design agencies back home, they quoted him up to 300,000 US dollars for the same work. The makerspaces here in Shenzhen charge about $200 a month.
$200 a month.
If you want to find Shenzhen supplies online, there's one website you should go. It's called 1688. It is where the factories list their products. It's not Alibaba. So we have a full dedicated video on how to use 1688. We will link it in the corner.
Yeah, but the real barrier with 1688 isn't the language anymore. I mean, everybody can use AI translation tools nowadays, and they will handle that. But the real barrier are shipping and the payments. Even if you don't buy directly on that page, use it for one thing: price research. You can find the floor price, you screenshot the listing and send it into your sourcing agent. And they buy it on your behalf, and now you know what the real price is.
Also very street smart. So a lot of people also ask us about trade shows. So where should we go? What is actually worth it? So we have 3 that we would put on our calendars. Number 1 is the China High Tech Fair in November. It has 5,000 exhibitors from 100 countries, and is the biggest tech expo in the country. Then we have AlexCon in August with 240,000 visitors. It's focused more on electronics components. And last but not least, we have the Global Sources in Hong Kong. 3 phases across April, and it's just right across the border here.
Yeah, and a lot of people ask us, hey, how can we plan a trip when we want to come to China, especially to Shenzhen, and we want to put this together. So getting here, you fly into Shenzhen Bao'an Airport. You probably take Metro Line 11 that gets you to the city center within 30 minutes. Or you fly to Hong Kong, you cross the border on foot, 5 crossings to choose from. Luohu is the busiest, Futian is less crowded, and Huanggang is the only one that open 24 hours.
Or you do what we do most of the time when we go to Hong Kong, you just skip the border entirely. You can take the high-speed train from the Hong Kong West Kowloon, and you're in Shenzhen in just 15 minutes. It's crazy. So if you want to combine it with the Canton Fair in Guangzhou, it will take you 29 minutes by train. And the crazy thing is it has 342 departures every day, and it just costs $16.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's super convenient. The best time to come here is probably March and April. You have perfect weather. It's everything is open also because Chinese New Year is over. Another good timing would be October and November. You again have beautiful weather, and you can combine it with the high-tech fair or the Canton Fair. What I would strongly avoid is probably the summer, because it's very hot. You have the typhoon season also with 86% of annual rainfall. Absolutely avoid Chinese New Year. Like in 2026 now, that's February, the markets were shut down for weeks.
And then a lot of people ask us, what should we bring when we come to China? I mean, you can buy everything you need here. Bring your passport, then bring WeChat Pay, because most stalls, they don't take cards, international credit cards. And if you want to use Google and WhatsApp, you need a VPN. Then take your business cards. And one thing we recommend everyone, bring patience. We're talking about Huaqiangbei, and if you really want to cover it properly, you need at least 2 days to stay there.
Even though most of the people here are not patient at all, because they're used and spoiled by the speed, but you have to have patience in order to see everything properly. And when it's time to pay your supplier, international bank transfers are also slow and expensive and full of hidden fees. WorldFirst lets you send both USD and RMB. Your supplier gets paid at the same time, and you're not losing margin to conversion costs and intermediary charges. 150,000 Chinese suppliers are already on the network, and the payments between WorldFirst users are entirely free.
So, Shenzhen, an amazing city. It went from 30,000 fishermen to the world's electronics capital in just 40 years. And whether you're sourcing components, you're prototyping a product, or just trying to understand where the things in your house actually come from, this is your city.
So next episodes, we go deeper into the China's sourcing map.
If you think this was useful, subscribe and follow WorldFirst for the full China sourcing map series. Download our free China sourcing map, every city, every market, every district. The link is in the description. My name is Thomas.
And I'm Michael. See you in the next one.
See you.